and welcome back to Fine Art Friday. If you joined me last month or the month before, you'll remember that this season we're talking about different mediums or materials that are used to create art. If this is your first Fine Art Friday, welcome! All of our past videos are available on our Facebook and YouTube channels. This month we'll be talking about sculptures. If you look up sculpture art, you will get a ton of results because sculptures have been used in art for a long time. Sculptures are created for many reasons: to honor someone, to make a statement, to catch someone's eye, for practical purposes, and so much more. Because sculptures are used and made for so many different reasons, it would be hard to cover their entire history in this short video. Instead, we'll take a look at a few select sculptures and talk about how and why they were made, and after that, you'll get to create your own mini sculpture. Let's start with the bust of Nefertiti, a sculpture resembling the face of Egyptian queen Nefertiti. This bust, or sculpture of someone's head, is really neat and important because of how well it's been preserved over the years. Many times, when we find sculptures or artifacts in general from so many years ago, they are broken or faded. The bust of Nefertiti isn't perfect, but it's in awesome condition for being made around 1340 BC, lost to time, and then rediscovered in 1913. Check out how smoothly her face is sculpted, and the colors added to her skin, neckpiece, and headwear. Historians believe the sculptor was Thutmose, a man who was possibly the royal sculptor under Pharaoh Akhenaten, Nefertiti's husband. This piece was probably created to honor the queen, or to show off her beauty, so that generations of Egyptians down the road could remember her. To remember or honor someone is a common reason sculptures are made. There are many examples of this throughout history. Have you ever been to a wax museum? Those wax sculptures are made to look incredibly realistic to the legends, stars, and characters that they represent. But not all sculptures have to be based off someone famous. Let's take a look at one a little closer to home. The Barefoot Boy by Viola. This sculpture is right here in Tremont, at City Park. Viola was an artist born in Tremont in 1889. She created many sculptures and busts, some of which are on display at the Tremont Museum. The Barefoot Boy was inspired by a poem by John Greenleaf Whittier, and she used her younger brother Clay as her model. This sculpture is so neat because while Norman made it to represent a poem she liked, many people remember it because of the boy who was featured. Sculptures can take on different meanings throughout time, and that's why they're so important. A sculpture can be a reminder of someone's life, or something nice, or a whole new message altogether. And that's a perfect segue into our next sculpture, the Charging Bull in New York City. The Charging Bull is a bronze sculpture in New York City. It was created by Arturo Di Marica in 1989 in response to the 1987 stock market crash. The bull is a symbol of the can-do and courageous spirit of Americans. Even after a bad blow to the economy, the American people kept going and working hard to bring their lives back up to speed. Speaking of sculptures that represent the American spirit, let's take a look at another one that you probably know. The Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty was created in the 1870s and 1880s and officially given to the United States as a gift from France in 1886. It was designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi and was built by Gustave Eiffel. The Statue of Liberty is modeled after Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. In Lady Liberty's left hand, she holds a book with an inscription of the date the Declaration of Independence was signed, and at her feet are broken chains representing the recent abolition of slavery in the States. Her main purpose is to represent freedom, something many immigrants were looking for and still look for when they come to the U.S. looking for a new home. She's also become a symbol of welcoming to those same newcomers. Sculptures can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but not all are made with that exact purpose. An artist can have an idea in mind when creating art, but they might also just have the goal of simply catching someone's eye or interest. Some sculptures look really cool or really wacky just so that you'll stop and take a closer look at them. This sculpture, located in Chicago, is called Cloudgate, but I'm sure you know it as the Bean. The Bean was created by artist Sir Anish Kapoor in 2004 as part of a design contest to bring art to the then-new Millennium Park. Kapoor wanted to create something that caught people's eye, distorted the regular view of the world, and appeared to be perfect and seamless, or not created by humans. The Bean definitely fulfills these goals. If you've ever been there, you'll know how the shiny metal reflects the sky and the buildings around it very clearly. And then, if you go under it, A reflection of you and the people around you become long and skinny or wiggly and short. The bean brings in tourists from all over the world every day, just to admire its beauty and wonder about its purpose. Its purpose is simple, a fun landmark to bring people together to check out some cool art. These hippos are another example of a sculpture created to engage the people who come across it. Hippo Square is in a zoo in Taiwan and was created by the former zoo director, Chen Pao Chung. He wanted to add something more to the African animal exhibit, and with conservation and observation in mind, he came up with these hippos. The way they seem like they are emerging from the ground is super cool and makes viewers feel like maybe they are in the middle of a river with the hippos, rather than the other way around. They are also right at eye level and life size, so they're pretty hard to miss. We've looked at quite a few sculptures today, and a lot of them were made with different materials. Sculptures and other 3D art can be made with whatever the artist wants to use or has available. The bust of Nefertiti was made from limestone. The charging bowl was made from bronze and then welded together. The bean was made from incredibly polished stainless steel. In your art kits today, you have simple air-dry clay. This is an easy material to manipulate and make different shapes out of, and then it dries in a couple days into a sculpture that you can keep for a long time. If you like learning about these sculptures and you want to try out some more, try using more materials from around your home. I've seen really cool tin foil sculptures, cardboard sculptures, wood and soap carved sculptures, and so many more. All right, now that we know a little bit about the endless possibilities of sculptures and what they can represent, let's create our own. First things first, let's go through your kit. It's a simple one. You have a bag of clay and 2 sculpting tools. Each kit got slightly different sculpting tools, so if you're doing this project with your siblings or friends, compare them and see the differences in each one. Let's jump right into it. Your sculpture can be anything you want. You can make a sculpture of a pet or animal you like, you can try your hand at making a bust or a sculpture of someone, or you can just create a random object or shapes. I decided to make a rainbow. To start out, I'm just breaking up my clay and warming it up in my hands. This helps it become a little bit more workable. The next step I'm taking is breaking up my clay into smaller pieces to plan out the different parts of my sculpture. I made small balls for each of the stripes in my rainbow and 2 large clumps for my clouds. This helps me make sure I'm not using too much clay on one part or another. Shaping your clay is another fun part. For my stripes in my rainbow, I'm rolling my small clay clumps into balls and then rolling them out into long snakes on the table. I'm rolling my clay right on the table, and when I'm done, I'll clean it up with wet wipes or soap and water. You can use a tray if you don't want your clay right on your table. The clay that we're using is Crayola air dry clay, so it does clean up easy and it is non-toxic. I still would not recommend eating it though. When you are attaching your clay pieces together, you'll want to use a method called hatching. Use the sharp end of one of your tools or a toothpick to rough up the edges of clay that will be touching. Then, when you stick them together, push the clay together and smooth over where they join. This helps your pieces not fall off after your sculpture dries. If your sculpture has long pieces that hang off to the sides, you can also use materials under your sculpture to keep it all together. Try attaching parts with Q-tips or building around popsicle sticks to make a stronger structure. When you're done with your sculpture, it's time to let it dry. Like I said, this is air dry clay, so you don't need to bake it or anything. Find a safe place for it to sit undisturbed. A dry place at room temperature is best. My rainbow took about 3 days to completely dry. If you do have an issue with pieces falling off or not sticking together, you can also use water to help mold them together. After my sculpture got done drying, I noticed a few of my clouds kept falling off. To fix this, I rehashed where the clay was meeting up and then made the clay wet again with some water. I also used water to smooth out the bottom of my sculpture so that it will stand right as well. After your sculpture is done, you can also paint it. This is totally up to you. I wanted my rainbow to be bright and cheerful. Because of all the small spaces in my rainbow, I used a variety of brushes. I would definitely recommend having a teeny tiny paintbrush on hand if you're going to paint your sculpture. Because clay is a porous surface, meaning it absorbs things, it will absorb your paint and dry very quickly. If you want your colors to be brighter, do multiple layers of each color. The clay also makes your sculpture have a matte or flat texture. If you want it to be shinier, you can use Mod Podge on it after your paint has dried. And here is my final piece. I loved my mini sculpture and I'm excited to display it on my windowsill. I'd love to see what you all can create. Leave pictures in the comments or show me at the library. See you all next month for mosaics. Have fun, everyone.